It is 7:30, however, we are experiencing slight delay. Please be patient with us. Has the board had an opportunity to review the correspondence? Okay. Good morning. This is the March 14th meeting of the Jefferson City Board of Adjustment. My name is Drew Hake. I am the chair of the board. I would like to introduce the members of the board. Brad Schaefer. Jay Seaver is absent this morning. Jim Crabtree is absent this morning. Roy Michael. Michael Eichner. Did I get that this time? Hey, all right. Adam Cartwright. Not here. Okay. Hard. Katie, how come they don't have you?
Sorry, I missed that.
Katie Lacey? There you go. Okay. Our council liaison is not present at this time, Ms. Aaron. Staff members, would you please introduce yourselves?
Courtney Bliss, City Planner.
Eric Barron, Planning Manager.
Dave Grellner, Interim Director of Planning Protective Services.
Lisa Dittmer, Administrative Assistant.
Thank you.
And Dustin Birch, our Associate City Attorney, just stepped out for a moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Missouri law requires at least 4 affirmative votes to be cast for the approval of any official matter before the board. Alternates may be designated to vote upon the absence or disqualification of any regular. Morning, Ms. Aaron, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Good to have you here. Ms. Aaron is our council liaison. Okay, a quorum of 4 members or alternate necessary to conduct the business. I declare that we do have a quorum this morning. Mr. Seaver and Mr. Crabtree are absent from this proceeding. Are there any members who are disqualified for voting on any of the agenda items this morning? Seeing none, the voting members shall be as follows: Drew Hake, Katie Lacey, Brad Schaefer, Roy Michael, and Michael Eichner. Okay. Is there applicant or representative present for the case number B23001, Unilever, 2900 West Truman Boulevard? Yes, sir. Thank you. Are there any requests for any continuances in this matter?
No.
Are there any requests this morning to reorder the agenda?
No.
Seeing none. Okay. All testimony and evidence shall be submitted to the board under oath. At this time, I wish all of those who wish to speak shall please stand and raise your right hand. If you're going to want to say something, stand up. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, city staff.
I'd like to briefly describe the procedures of the board. The proceedings of the meeting are being recorded, so please step to the microphone when you speak and give your name and address for the record. The standard order of each case is as follows. After introduction of the request by the applicant or their consultant, after introduction of the request by the applicant or their consultant, After introduction of the request, the applicant or the consultant will provide information on the request. The opening presentation by the applicant shall be limited to 10 minutes unless additional time is requested. We will then ask to hear from supporters of the request. We will then ask to hear from opponents of the request. We will then ask to hear from anyone else who wishes to speak on the request. Testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each unless additional time is granted by the board. City staff will then give their recommendations on the request. In order to reduce the time necessary to hear an application, references to printed materials, including staff reports and applicable findings, shall not be read into the record unless directed by the board. The board will close testimony from the floor. The board will then discuss the proposal, then publicly make its determination with reasons. The floor motion shall be positive, that is, that the motion shall be made to accept the request as presented or with modifications, stipulations, or conditions. A final vote will be taken with ayes in favor and nays opposed. The chair shall announce the results of the vote, specifying the number of votes cast in favor and the number of votes cast against. If 4 or more votes are cast in favor of the motion is approved. If 3 or more votes are cast in favor of the motion is denied. Or if 3 or less votes are cast in favor of the motion is denied. The following documents are entered as exhibits for all items under consideration at this meeting. The City Code of the City of Jefferson as amended, the comprehensive plan and land use map, copies of applications under consideration, a list of property owners to whom notices were sent, the affidavit of publication of notice to the public newspaper, copies of drawings, plans, and/or renderings under consideration, letters of memorandum from staff reports, minutes of proceedings, correspondence or other materials submitted by the public or the applicant, rules of procedure for the Jefferson City Board of Adjustment. These items are public record and available for inspection through the Department of Planning and Protective Services or through the Office of the City Clerk. Please be advised that any items that are received, distributed, or otherwise that The presented, distributed, or otherwise received pertaining to the cases under consideration become the property of the board. This includes any photographs, drawings, petitions, and letters. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as printed? Second? All opposed, aye? Oh, sorry. Oh, it's a morning and a half, isn't it? Okay, all in favor, do the aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Can I have an approval for the minutes of the regular meeting, December 13, 2022? Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We've had quite a bit of correspondence. The board has had an opportunity to review. Is that correct?
I don't know if everyone's had time. There's multiple
Okay.
pages.
Let's
but
take just a couple of
yeah,
minutes to
I
make sure
it's
that
worth
everyone has had
reviewing.
an
Yeah.
opportunity.
Mhm.
Let me know when you guys are cleared. Okay. All right. Thank you for your patience, gallery. This is something we need to make sure we're clear on. Okay, case number B23001, 2900 West Truman Boulevard, building height variance, request filed by Unilever Manufacturing, Inc. for a 50-foot variance from the required maximum building height of 60 feet outlined in section 3551 to permit a building of height of 110 feet for an automated warehouse. The property is located on the northeast corner of Shoemate Chapel Road and West Truman Boulevard and is described as part of section 34, Township 45, Range 12 West, and part of section 3, Township 44, Range 12 West, Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm Primus Building Consultant. Ms. Courtney?
I'll take this one.
Okay.
And
Mr. Eric?
thank you, Mr. Chair. And so first for this case, I'm going to give a description of the zoning regulations as they pertain to the case, the height regulations. Then introduce the site, show a visual of the site and some of the surrounding areas, and then go over the more specifics of the request. And then, of course, lean on the applicant to go over the finer details of their request. So first, as it pertains to height regulations within the Jefferson City Zoning Code, I have a couple screenshots from the zoning code shown up on the screen. The first is the maximum height of the M2 General Industrial Zoning District for which this property is zoned. You can see that the maximum height is 60 feet within the zoning code. Now that's measured from the base of the foundation wall, usually like a slab on grade type building, basically from the top of the slab, measured up to the, for a flat roof or nearly flat roof, basically to the highest point of that roof. And so that's how height is measured and what the maximum height is. Now, some like mechanical equipment, be it elevator towers, specialized mechanical equipment, things like that, can extend a distance of 15 feet above that maximum height. So there are some things that are permitted to extend above the 60 feet. Then also the second screenshot down there is a visual showing based on the height of a building, what the required setback is from a residential zoning district. And so really the purpose here is to show that there is a graduated setback. As the height of a building increases, the setback from a side property line or from a rear property line does increase as well at the rate of 10 feet for every 15 feet in height of the building. Of course, that chart only goes up to 45 feet in height. And so anything above that basically caps out at 30 feet according to the zoning code. But I wanted to make sure you're aware that there is that graduated increase in setback. So up on the screen is the property highlighted in blue. As mentioned, the property is zoned in M2, a general industrial zoning district. There are two types of industrial zoning districts, M2 and M1, with the M1 district basically being referred to as almost indoor industrial, and the M2 allowing a lot of outdoor uses and more intensive uses. As you can see, the property is bordered on two sides by residential zoning districts and residential uses, single-family homes located along Shoemate Chapel, Mercedes Lane, and then also along Sioux Drive to the north. To the south is conservation offices, so state office buildings that happen to sit in an RS1 zoning district, residential. And then to the east is M1 zoning as well, with some automobile-oriented uses located there, essentially next to Highway 179, and then a very large tract of undeveloped property. And so their request is to take one building located on their site and demolish it and replace it with a new building. And the new building would be a automated storage facility. I'll leave them to describe the details of that. But the building would be at a height of just under 110 feet. And as 60 feet is the maximum, the purpose of the request is, of course, a variance of 50 feet to permit the taller building. So here's a visual showing where that building would be located. north is now to the left-hand side of the screen. And so West Truman Boulevard is here on the right. And so their main, manufacturing facility, closer to West Truman Boulevard is there. And there would be a building addition right about here that's not really highlighted, as it's not needing any type of variance, but then the taller building located there. And you see some of the rest of their site. They have another existing building and then trailer parking toward the rear of their property, as well as customer parking area and various other uses. And so within your packets is some building elevations that basically show the height of the building. And that's from all 4 different directions. I'll provide one that's kind of zoomed in. And so this is the south elevation. So it'd be the elevation of the building facing Truman Boulevard. And so as you can see, the building is shown at a height of just under 110 feet, 108 feet, 7 3/4 inches, located there at the highest point of the building. And so for reference, some of the existing buildings are shown here as well, shown at a height of 35 feet. And so you can see the height of some of the existing buildings in comparison to the proposed. They've also provided a 3D rendering of the building. And so you can see the building in comparison to some of the other existing buildings on the site. Also, interior layout with a lot of the different mechanical equipment that's rendered there as well. A number of street visuals were provided within the packet, and I'll go over some of them, but I pulled this one out as it's the view from Truman Boulevard. And it's a little difficult to see here, but as you can see, their main manufacturing facility here, their employee parking lot. This is Shoemate Chapel Road right here. And then so right there is a rendering of the building, and so showing essentially how tall it would be as viewed from Truman Boulevard. So this is a site elevation map, and so it gives basically using an excerpt of the online GIS system with the contours included on the site. And so the particular building, again, would be this building right here, which would be demolished and removed and essentially replaced in almost the same location with the new building. And so the elevation in that particular point of the site is just a little over 710 feet. I think it's worth pointing out that the rest of their site is essentially developed. The portions of undeveloped property that they have is largely rough terrain, and so essentially a valley located here and over there, a gradually descending slope. And so some of the terrain of the property ranges from 600 feet to about 720 feet across the property, so about 120 feet of elevation change within the property boundaries.
You're speaking topographical change.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And so this is a view kind of on the interior of the site, zoomed in a bit toward the building. And so I'll point out a few particulars. And so, the building location again would be essentially where this building right here is located. And so the setback of this building to the property line would be about 140 feet. So that's distance from the side of the building to the property line. And then the separation distance between the building and the nearest off-site primary structure, which is a residential home, is about 450 feet. It'd be that particular home right there. So about a 450-foot separation between those two. I think it's worth pointing out that the surrounding area is heavily wooded with mature trees, and in particular along this property line, there is a row of tall trees. And so within the application materials was a street view study. And so the applicant provided pictures from surrounding locations, surrounding the site, as shown on that visual. And then each of those sites, again, a little hard to see, might be easier to see within your packet materials, gives a rendering of the location of the building from the different sites. Okay, as mentioned, we have received some items of correspondence on this case, which you've all had an opportunity to read. And so the role of the board, in ruling this case, is to review it in accordance with the required findings. And so the application materials provide responses to the findings, so responses that were provided by the applicant, and also staff within the staff report gave some commentary on the required findings as well. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any initial questions before turning over to the applicant to present.
Board members have any questions? Okay. All right, thank you. Who would like to present this case before this board? Approach the podium, name and address for the record, please. No sirs in here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to present. My name is Michael Jones. I'm an architect with a company out of Atlanta named Primus. My address is 8294 Highway 92, Woodstock, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. Here to present on behalf of Unilever the project request for a height variance for the manufacturing facility. As you can see from the initial studies that we've done, we are looking to increase the building height, demolish an existing facility, and then replace it with an automated storage and retrieval warehouse. Many reasons for that. Unilever is undergoing a confidential network optimization, so I can't tell you a whole lot about the inside of the building and what they're doing. But you'll see we are consolidating a lot of the distribution activities within this new automated warehouse. The intention there is to then also provide more timely operation for the distribution effort, where they can do much better scheduling of the loads and not have free-for-all with people showing up, so they can do a lot better. The reason for the height request is, of course, the 60 feet is in existence right now. We need to increase the density of what they have going on inside, and then thereby give them much better ability to schedule the outgoing loads and then receive product from manufacturing. Right now they're having to do a lot of just-in-time shipments off the lines, so the intention would be they can do a much better job here scheduling that system and then carry it forward. One clarification on the description from the beginning. The building on the image on the bottom right that said that piece was being replaced, so the gray area just to the right of the orange is actually their existing dock, and we're not modifying the exterior of that, but that is an existing piece of the land right now, so just for clarification's purposes. As you can see in the imagery that we've provided, we've tried to go and study basically every vantage point we could to illustrate what the facility would look like. The construction of the building, it will be a rack-supported facility, so the actual rack will be the structure of the building. So the little kit of parts, kind of erector set, shows up. We erect all that. We put insulated panels on it. We put a roof on it, and then we carry that forward. Very energy-efficient facility, so you'll see some improvements on utility usage at the facility. And then, of course, the mechanization inside is really to optimize how the building is being used currently versus what it can do for them in the future. We are replacing that existing facility. It's nominally a 35-foot tall building. It's of such repair that it can't be adapted for this use. There's a significant amount of loading that's generated by the density of storage that we can deal with in a mat foundation and all that in the existing location. You did see we also asked for 110 feet. We feel like this building's probably going to be a little bit lower, but until we get final numbers from our racking providers, we can't determine that. So this would be the maximum that we would request as we go forward. and present the construction documents. Not sure what else there is. We're not increasing any dock activity. Again, we're optimizing inside. There's going to be, automated forklifts. They're going to bring product to the dock so that, there's not that. This will bring some more technical positions to the facility. They're going to be able to retrain some people that work there already and give them, a more technical aspect of their job, increasing their ability, for the longevity of their careers there. So that's a very good thing in the mind of Unilever, of course, to improve the quality of life of the employees for sure. And I'm really open for other questions. I think the documents that we try to present will show you, we've looked at every possible angle that we could to share with you what the impact of this would be visually. A lot of the imagery, of course, is during the time when the foliage is pretty dense and the trees are leaved, so we understand that. But you can see for what part of the year that is, you barely see the thing at all except from West Truman. So certainly open for any questions and anything else that we need.
Board members have any questions for this gentleman? A couple, nobody? Okay, all right. A couple of things that was addressed in this correspondence was lighting, exterior lighting systems. Could you briefly describe what we're going to see in terms of lighting, aviation lights, anything of that nature?
Yes, sir. The exterior of the building, with it being automated, it really has no interior population. There'll be a few technicians that work there. The racking will be so dense you will not be able to go down the aisles unless you're in a maintenance shutdown. So there will not be a lot of exit doors, for instance, that are provided for creature comfort and life safety because there's just not going to be that use. The dock operation, of course, as we said, is all going to be the existing. So really our need for lighting would just be on the occasional exit door that's required. I think what you would see is in the low bay portion, there'll be a few technicians working in that portion, and they would have exit doors, of course. And then anything that would be required. I know there's an airstrip, probably within 3 to 5 miles, so anything they would require. We have not went for an FAA clearance yet, but we know that, they're probably going to want red lights on the corners, for night vision. But other than that, there really would be no need for exterior lighting on that other than the existing parking lot lighting and the driveway lighting that they already have. We're not going to increase that for any reason because there's no need. The building's really kind of a lights out scenario. Technicians will be in the front end working where they do layer picking for various mixed orders. But then, again, just the occasional exit door would have a light, 8 to 10 feet off the ground for that if that door had to be used, at the nighttime to traverse the site. So.
Do you anticipate any additional noise levels from your facility?
I would say it's going to actually get better, and the reason I say that is we're going to be able to control the traffic and, schedule the loading a lot better than they maybe currently can because doing a just-in-time delivery. The equipment itself inside the facility, the walls will be insulated panels, so they're high-density foam. So you won't hear the building operations inside. You think, oh, there's a bunch of cranes and stuff going on inside. You will not hear that from that perspective. So the only noise that you have is what's already there would be, any of the truck traffic. And again, we feel there's going to be an improvement here by being able to optimize the distribution operations.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
When you say it might be lower, are you talking about this 1 or 2 feet or what?
Yeah, a couple feet, sir. We've went out for preliminary pricing on the rack until we go to the finite, hey, we're placing an order for the racking. That is assuming the project moves forward with Unilever. This is, we know, step one. We've got to be able to build something this tall. Upon that, they start massaging, millimeters out of the rack. We don't want to buy any more steel than is necessary. But yeah, that's not predetermined. But right now, we believe the 108-ish is a maximum. So we said, let's keep it at 110 just in case, which is thus the extra 50.
Just understanding time constraints, how long do you think it'll take once construction begins?
Construction right now for the high bay is roughly 12 to 14 months. Again, you're going to get a kit of parts that's going to show up and you're going to build a sequence of racking. You can't stand any of the insulated panels till the structure is complete because it's going to be unstable. In theory, right? I mean, we know it's going to hold up, but they don't want you to have one side open with a big sail on it. So you get the structure completed and then start wrapping insulated panels. We'll work from the bottom up and we'll be able to get ahead of that, but it's approximately a 12 to 14 month sequence.
And when you're planning this expansion, did you look into building within the code within the 60 feet limit, or does that make this project impossible?
It certainly impacts the project from that perspective. The automation, the volumes that Unilever needs to deliver would not really, it wouldn't be a viable project at that point if we had to stay within the 60 feet. It would actually potentially to increase the technical difficulty of building 60 feet tall conventional versus the ability to build the rack supported.
Do you anticipate, you briefly discussed traffic flows just a moment ago, your normal vehicular traffic around the facility, will it remain the same or will it have any changes to it?
There's really no reason for it to change. The dock operation is not going to be impacted other than scheduling. I know that the trailer drop lot is there to the north of the entire facility, so the trailers that go there maybe now or still do that. But there will be no increase in traffic. This is really to keep product on site longer and the ability then to stage and schedule the loads more efficiently for the network. Mm-hmm. Right now they may send out a mixed load somewhere, it goes somewhere, it has to come back because somebody didn't need that right away or whatever. So the ability to maximize the distribution by having the product on site is what this is really after.
So kind of in a nutshell theory, you are doing your very best to improve the efficiency and the overall flow of your systems of production?
Yes, sir. Okay. We're actually going to connect, there's a drive to the east of the building that kind of goes back and does a little bit of service. And then right where the orange building engages the dock, there's a cut through. There's a lot of, for them, internal traffic that gets kind of bottlenecked. So we're going to actually connect the dots around there and allow them to drive to the east of the new building from the east of the existing building and then get back to the drop lot that way too. So we may actually defer some of that traffic actually to the east of the building that may currently come down the west side.
Anything further?
Do you happen to know with your building occupancy and the type what the maximum height allows with the code, building code?
So in the code, it would be 55 normal plus 20 for sprinklers.
Right.
And then they do have an exception for 1 story, which this building is only occupied at the ground level. There's rack levels, but it's accessed by crane. There is an exception in the building code for unlimited based on mechanical means. So that has been an effective approach to the code in other locations in the country that we've used.
Okay.
Anything? Thank you for your presentation. You are subject to recall.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of this request? If so, please approach the podium, name and address for the record.
I'm Michael Whelan, 2900 West Truman Boulevard. I'm the operations director at Unilever here locally. And again, just want to give a couple highlights on this particular project and answer a couple questions that you may have had. So number one, the facility here in Jeff City is the largest Unilever site globally. It generates anywhere from $1.3 to $1.7 billion in annual revenue. It is the #1 global site globally. We are comprised of about 80% of North America's personal care liquid volume. That comes just out of this site alone. We've been here since 1966, employ over 500 people. Top quartile in wages and a community global partner, right? So we work with a lot of people, suppliers, Axiom, Outlet, et cetera. So a strong standing relationship with the community. And in this particular project, just to give a background to answer a lot of questions, is today's world is being disrupted by e-commerce and de-commerce. And as a result of that, the Jeff City, because we are 80% of the personal care liquid volume, we generally produce and it goes straight on a truck and it's sent out. What that causes is we distribute our products across anywhere from 5 North America and about 7 total Americas distribution centers across the site. Is we have to send our inventory in what we call a hub and spoke. That generally goes to Pontoon Beach right out of St. Louis, and then from there it is distributed. The disruptions in e-com and decom where that comes into play is the ability that we may send product to Newville, Pennsylvania, and then understand that we need it in Rialto, California. So the logistics costs, the fuel costs, everything to take product from Newville, Pennsylvania to the Rialto distribution center in California is quite expensive, right? And it's also inefficient when we talk about service. And we know from a e-com standpoint, if you go on Amazon and you can't get a product within 2 days, you're probably selecting somebody else's product. So what we're doing here is, again, creating this high-rise warehouse in order that we can allocate particularly some of our segmented products for storage on the facility. So there's no increase in production associated with this. It's really around us optimizing the network on a cost standpoint and logistics. It's there to better service the consumer. One, from an efficiency and cost standpoint, it's imperative as we think about the changing landscape of business, particularly on that logistics and service standpoint. The truck traffic, again, the warehouse, the dock doors that are currently fed today will continue to be fed. Our product will come off a production line, will go into the automated warehouse, will then be sent out of the automated warehouse back into our current dock doors. If anything, we will reduce the number of dock doors that we have to use and leverage at any given point, right? Currently, right now, we have to use 25 dock doors because of product coming straight off lines and into trailers. So again, from our standpoint, I know there are questions and comments around, traffic, increase of traffic flow, particularly from the facility. There'll be none in regards to that. If anything, we should see some improvements in those areas. But again, the distribution center is really around us addressing the growing need, particularly in logistics, to improve these efficiencies in this area. As the #1 site here globally, right, and then particularly in North America, right, it's imperative. And as stated before, this is not a guaranteed project, right? We're looking at this and looking at other regions as well, but this is one, and this height variance is critical to the go forward in this particular site. So with that, I wanted to share a little bit about the project, the background on that, and then maybe some of the concerns around traffic, because I've heard that quite a few times. So with that, what questions do you have?
Board members? Just as a point of clarification, you use two terms, e-commerce and d-commerce. Could you clarify?
Yeah, digital commerce is I call Walmart and say, hey, I'd like to pick up X amount of groceries for tomorrow. So again, I'm ordering at that, and again, even some of our Walmarts and your Targets and your Krogers that currently today where you can pick up groceries within those facilities and pick them up in the parking lot. That's a piece of the, we'll say, e-commerce as well. We call that more of a digital commerce, right? People kind of ordering from Walmart. So, again, having the distribution and be able to react to growth in particular areas. And we know in social influencers, right? Kim Kardashian gets online and says, hey, I love this product, right? The increase in one region to another can be significant. So our ability being in the Midwest, right? It's kind of strategically located in the central part of the U.S. It also allows us from a regional standpoint to optimize that as well. So DCOM is really around another big section of growth. It's not just ordering components or services and goods at home. It's really around going and picking them up at your big brick and mortar facilities.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Approach the podium, name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Luke Holtzsnyder, 630 Bolivar Street, Jefferson City. So I'm the president of the Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership. Excuse me. And we've been working with Unilever, ultimately as a community for decades, as they've been a strong presence and an economic driver in the community for since the mid-'60s. And we've been working with Unilever over the past couple of months to explore an opportunity that they have, that they are looking within their network, as previously mentioned, for ways to improve efficiency within their distribution network. As Michael Whelan just kind of described, we have a very unique asset here in Jefferson City that has taken different shapes over the past decade. So really the request today is critical to future opportunities for the Unilever system to maintain and potentially grow the impact that they have in this community. So, part of the reasons that they've continued to be such a huge presence in this community is really adapting to the environment. This request is ultimately an additional adaptation that would make this plant continue to be one of the strongest and highest revenue producing facilities within the Unilever network, which ultimately helps retain their presence here for future decades to come. Behind me, not going to speak for all the group that's here, but many supporters, board members, and community partners that are here and willing to speak in favor of the project. I think a lot of those comments can be held towards the end unless needed or asked for, but did want to make sure that there was a strong showing of support here for this project.
Thank you. Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Name and address to the podium for the record, please.
My name is Harry Otto. I live at, 713 Hobbs Road. I'm also your Western District Commissioner of Cole County. So as a resident and as a commissioner of the Western District, and this is in the Western District, here to show my support. I've also brought a letter from, or a note from Presiding Commissioner Sam Bushman, who, when two of us get together, we have a quorum. We have to have an open meeting, so we're separated here today. All right. Just here in support of a very solid employer in this community, and this investment will increase the tax base, the real estate, the personal property that goes in this building, and just solidifies their staying for perpetuity, we hope, here. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You can submit those for the record, please. Thank you, sir. See what that one is. Pass that down and bring it back this way. Pass that down, bring it back this way. I need to pass the second one back this direction. Let the record show that the items have been entered and reviewed by the board. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this request? Name and address.
Good morning. I'm Gary Plummer. I'm president of the Jefferson City Area Chamber of Commerce, located at 213 Adams in Jefferson City. And I just feel compelled to come up here and speak on behalf of our 850 members this morning on how important we think this project is to our future here in our community. I've had the good fortune of working with the folks at Unilever and before Unilever, Cheeseboro Ponds, since back in 1988. 3 different plant managers that we've been able to work with over that time, David Donnelly, Joe Roy, and now Michael Whalen. And I just want to say what great corporate citizens they are here in our community and how much they support a lot of different activities and nonprofits. And today, even child care centers that are facing a tough time in our current environment. And we just think that this makes a lot of sense for the community and for Unilever to solidify their future going forward, to drive some more tax revenue to some local jurisdictions, including our schools. And we think it's for the greater good of Jefferson City. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question for this gentleman? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in opposition to this request? If so, approach the podium, name and address for the record.
Name is Kenneth Marsh. I live at 312 Shoemake Chapel. Retired. The people over in that area are retired. I submitted, I read the application, and some of the correspondence that you have is what I contacted five. According to the requirements of 185 feet for notification, the property line of Unilever runs all the way to Sioux Drive, which is what most people are notified there. Over on, and it was mentioned about Mercedes Lane in the views that they submitted, that the applicant submitted. They took views from Mercedes Lane and over further west, and there was myself, there was 4 of us, property owners that is, that was notified out of, actually, there's 15 just on Shoemake Chapel Road to the Sioux Drive intersection. And when I received the letter, I contacted nearby neighbors, and no one, except there was one, there's a neighbor that came with me, that received that notification letter for comment. And neighbors on the other side of me had not, the neighbors, they're on the opposite side, or more the west side, or close to Mercedes, no one received notification to be able to even have a comment. So I kind of took it on myself. What I submitted is the property owners here is the listed property owners. I had contacted them, we discussed it, and they didn't sign the letter. Time-wise, I was notified, or I got the letter on I think a Friday, or I think it was Friday that we got it. And you know how it is to contact everybody and try to find out what's going on. And I know a lot of the neighbors around there, so I put together a not a rebuttal. In fact, when I talk to our neighbors, we're not negative on Unilever. We're not against progress. So we're not up in arms and upset and all screaming and hollering and all that. That's not part of the story at all. I can understand needing storage space. I understand that business. I can thoroughly understand the motive and what they need. Building the elevation, and it was mentioned, I think, by the planner, the elevation of Unilever is quite high compared, because you're looking down. If the map comes up, you can look down on Shoemake Chapel. You look down on Mercedes. So it's a pretty high elevation. And what we have, and we mentioned the noise. Yeah, there's factory noise, but most of the noise that we experience or hear is from transportation of it. Really, it's not inside the factory. It's not the manufacturing process. The concrete surfacing goes the entire length of the structure of the complex, and the tractor trailer traffic coming in, it shows off of, you had a view that coming off of Shoemake Chapel, or I mean off of Truman into Shoemake Chapel. That's where all the entrances are. That's where the traffic, and it's manufacturing. They have a lot of traffic coming in, raw materials. That's fine. And manufacturing going out. The storage warehousing is for one purpose: storage. I can understand that, the need for maintaining the factory flow, maintaining that. I can understand that. I would too. The difference is going over a variance height Now you're at a high elevation, you add another 108 feet or 110 feet, and it's quite high elevation. Now, for as viewing, yeah, you'll see it. And I submitted some photos of close to the area, and yeah, it would definitely be highly visible. The main issue would be that they stated that there wouldn't be any more traffic, more truck traffic coming in. With the need for more storage, more warehouse storage, you only have it for one reason. You're going to increase production, you're going to increase your operationals, and I can understand the need for distribution. Now, a need for that much distribution, that height, that may be, but I'm not really understanding that when you have a higher storage capacity, that you won't have more production. That's the whole point of of business is to produce, and to get your raw materials turned into consumable products. So having no additional traffic coming in is hard for me to understand. They don't have the trucking. Maybe we're at a disadvantage. I answered some of the findings. Now the board member read this. I'm
Yes.
correct. And is there any comment on what was written? Is there any comment? Because I can explain it, and I tried to not make it. I try to keep it common sense, believable. I didn't want to try to say, oh yeah, this is going to be the worst thing ever happened in society. We'll live with it. I do believe there'll be an increase in noise because they have speed bumps all through to slow the tractor trailers down. And coming in loaded, it's not too bad. When they leave, it's they're moving the tractor trailers all the time, and there's a lot of noise there. Now, and it's basically a reflecting factor. It's that the elevation plus the sides of the building causes the noise to go directly west. And there's a lot of noise, but we live near a factory, so there's noise.
Okay.
So we've all tolerated the noise. It's more sometimes like, okay, so what? But when you increase the height of the building that they're requesting, in common sense, I'm not an engineer. I'm a retired cop here in Jeff City, so I've been around quite a while. But I'm a hazard material manager for the Army National Guard for a long time, compliance chief. So the height of the building, the distance, and our property line, that's correct. Our property line, and you've seen the map, mine runs the most of it, because I got 9 acres of woods, property line all the way down through.
The board wishes to remind you of the time constraints.
Okay, I didn't know it was the time. I could talk forever.
We do appreciate your input.
Okay, was there any comment on, was it believable?
I thank you for submitting that. It was very believable, very easy to understand, and I appreciate you taking the time to write it and to come here today.
Right, because there is concerns,
Of course.
and there's unknowns. Now, if the traffic does not increase, the noise does not increase, basically it's just what you see, view. Will it detract from property values? I'm not real sure. I didn't really say that. What I said was it'll probably detract if someone is ready to buy your home and they come in and turn and walk through and see. That might be a detraction. I don't know if it would lower the property. It'll probably raise our property, so I'll probably be paying more taxes.
Again, the board wishes to thank you for your comments.
Okay. Do I have any more time?
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your consideration. My main thing was I didn't talk to enough people that even could make a comment. That's
Thank
really
you.
it. We're not against Cheeseboro ponds, obviously. That's what I grew up around it, so we're not against that. we want to make sure that you understand, we're not here just to complain. With practical things is what I just was trying to.
Thank you.
What I didn't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wish to speak in opposition to this request? Approach, name and address for the record.
Larry Wiskirkin, 306 Shoemate Chapel Road. So I did have a letter that I wrote, which I didn't submit earlier. Can I bring that in? It's similar, some similar things what Mr. Marsh had here. So it's not too bad living next to Unilever except for the noise. Excuse me. And the main, pretty much all the noise we hear is from loading dock activity and trucking. And I think if the building's not going to have any lights up high, that would be a good thing, because that was one of my concerns, that perhaps there'd be big floodlights shining down into our properties. So I appreciate hearing that we're not going to have that. I'd like to, since I have at one time tried to find a way to contact Unilever concerning the noise, but they don't seem to have a public phone number, and they have basically no access from the street for the public. So with them being here, I'd like to just make a suggestion. I would say that the worst noise that we hear is there is one speed bump in their driveway. They bring in empty trailers and they hit that speed bump. There's like a year ago, they did install a little security building out there in the driveway, which helped to slow things down. But past that, there's a speed bump, and when trucks bring in empty trailers, they'll just fly through there, and those empty trailers bounce, and it sounds like the loudest thunder you have ever heard in your life. It will shake our windows in the house, and we can actually feel the impact sitting in the chair in home. So I would just suggest to them that I don't know that the speed bump is important. If they could get rid of that, that would get rid of 50% of our irritating noise right there. So I'm glad to have this opportunity to address that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Any question for this gentleman? Thank you for your input. This document is so entered into the record. Anyone else wish to, in opposition to this request? The board would wish to instruct the consultant to take into consideration this gentleman's comment in terms of the noise that's occurring. Is there anyone else like to speak on this matter for any reason? Name and address for the record, please.
Yep, Michael Whelan, 2900 West Truman Boulevard. I just want to come up and just say on the traffic, I know there's concerns on this, but I assure you and the community that this is not about an increase in manufacturing. There's no increase in manufacturing. We have standard growth rates that we'll have all the way through 2030, which aren't crazy. From our standpoint, this is all about logistics and how we optimize, right, our logistics network. And storing some of the product here will allow us to avoid costs associated with sending this product to other places. So again, I want to assure everybody, as well as the community, that there won't be any increase in truck traffic, right? If anything, we haven't done, we should see an optimization in that particular space, really around not necessarily having to use 25 doors, right? Maybe having to use less than 25 doors because we will have on-site finished goods storage, right?
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Just to help our residents understand, can you explain logically, I think we had a good point. Well, we're adding storage, how can we not be increasing production?
Sure.
Can you help use that?
So, yeah, so the Jefferson City site sits right in the Midwest. Our closest distribution center, and there's basically 5 that we distribute to, and it's Pontoon Beach, Missouri, right outside St. Louis, Rialto, California, Wilmer, Texas, Newville, Pennsylvania, and Jacksonville, Florida. The drive distance between all those is pretty significant. Now, those are the only 5 distribution. We do have what we call a Brampton DC as well for product that goes into Canada, but a very small percentage of our volume. What happens today, because of the size and scale of the site, when we produce, it goes directly on a trailer. So, you know, what happens today, that traffic is the same traffic that occurs. They're loaded out of 25 dock doors. Once a pallet is produced, there's no storage whatsoever. So we have 0 finished goods storage on site, goes directly onto a trailer. That product is then set primarily to Pontoon Beach. And sitting in Pontoon Beach, there's a logistics cost of sending that product from here to Pontoon Beach. That inventory then sits there, and then it will be repurposed out of that site in what we call hub and spoke to either Wilmer, Rialto, those other elements. In today's market around e-com, right, us sending the hub and spoke, that can be sent to Wilmer, but immediately change. And then we need to recall that product back from the Pennsylvania DC back to, generally it could go back to the hub and spoke or out to Rialto. What this finished good warehouse does for us is allow us to hold our inventory. And we have segmentation of SKUs, what we call A through D, right? And it's based upon the net sales value of the cases or the turnover associated with it. What this will allow us to do is keep some of that product here. So again, we can deploy as the market sees fit. So again, instead of the production going out at the time of production, it'll be stored in a warehouse for the time of distribution. So it's around efficiency and logistics into market, increased service, reduce inventory costs or assets within the market, and then also from our standpoint, the logistics costs will be significant. A reduction of logistics cost. I hope that answers your question or kind of helps out the...
I'm just hoping that it helps the resident understand.
To just address the increase in trailers, there will be none. Right, there won't be an increase. This is not. No more truck currently today. No, not based on this project. Like I said, as I mentioned, there are normal growth rates that we look at and say, and you forecast growth rates from now to 2030, right? That can be anywhere from 2% to 4% growth. That's just the natural growth that happens in a business cycle. So again, there's no increase in production. We will not be bringing other raw materials on storage. This warehouse will store nothing but finished goods. So there'll be no chemicals. I think you mentioned a few minutes you were hazmat before. There'll be no additional chemicals, no volatile materials. This is purely finished goods. Instead of us producing and putting on a trailer and shipping it out, it will go into this warehouse, which again,
you're saying it's finished product.
Correct, correct.
That was an unknown.
Yep, no chemical storage,
That was
no.
in the findings, I would have seen the need or the requirement or the usage of the warehouse.
Okay.
If there is no raw material, chemical.
Right.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
That would eliminate that issue.
Thank you very much.
Eliminate the noise issue.
All right.
Eliminate the damage issue.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in any reason? Okay, seeing none, we will now close the testimony period of this meeting. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so as mentioned previously, the required findings are contained within the staff report. There's been responses by the applicant to the required findings, and then also commentary from staff on those findings. And leave you to read them over individually. And so we do have the recommended form of motion shown up on the screen. The motion for approval of that 50-foot variance to the 60-foot maximum to allow for a 110-foot tall tall building.
Any questions for staff? Thank you. Okay, would someone like to make a motion in this matter? Okay, sure.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a 50-foot variance from the required 60-foot building height maximum for the M2 General Industrial Zoning District to permit a 110-foot building height.
Is there a second? Discussion.
I just want to thank the residents again for coming in today and taking the time to compile that information, and the representatives from Unilever for coming in and explaining this and interacting with the residents. And Mr. Wiskirkin had the concern about the noise with the speed bump and being able to contact Unilever, and I think this is a good opportunity today, all in the same room. I hope there's a chance to talk about those issues so that we can continue to be good neighbors in the city. So.
If we could get a contact number, that would help. We can't call.
I think we can find someone that can get you one.
Okay. Any other discussions? Once again, we're seeing, for lack of a better word, the price of progress. I do appreciate this employer in this town's been here a long, long time. Seems to be a very good employer. As the world changes, you have to change production and distribution. I understand and realize that. As the difficult markets, whatever you can do to improve your systems, that's what you have to do. Again, we thank everyone for participation in this discussion. This is the reason for these meetings, so things can be said and things can be heard. Anything else? Ms. Lisa, let's do a roll call.
Hake.
Aye.
Lacey. Aye. Schaefer.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Eichner.
Bible. Motion carries. Congratulations on your project. We look forward to you guys' progress in the future in this neighborhood. Okay. If you have any questions, see the staff over there. Any miscellaneous reports?
Mr. Chair, we do have election of officers, which was tabled over from the last meeting.
The gallery is excused.
Yes. Have a good morning. So we do have the election officers. So the standard month for elections is October, and so it's been carried over due to not having meetings, and then also I think it was tabled at the last meeting, and so. Yes. Yes. Certainly.
Yeah, we had a message from him that says he will continue to serve in whatever capacity the board requests. Well, I need a motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board is now opening nominations for the position of chair.
That's fine. Go ahead, Kate. Second.
Anybody else want in on this circus, deal? Okay, roll call vote. I'll abstain.
Okay. Lacey. Schaefer.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Eichner.
Nomination for vice chair.
I nominate Jim Crabtree.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. I can vote this time.
You all can vote. Hake.
Aye.
Lacey. Schaefer.
Aye.
Michael. Eichner.
Okay, we got a new team. Well, we got the same team, another.
Same team in another year.
I want to take this opportunity to recognize Sonny Sanders' service to this community for a good number of years. Excellent fellow to work with, and we welcome Dave. Welcome to this board. We appreciate your service.
So I'll describe that briefly. So Mr. Grellner was appointed interim department director in order to fill the gap between Sonny's departure and the arrival of our new department director, who's Clint Smith. Haven't got the name down pat yet. Met him a couple times. He's attended several city council meetings in preparation for his arrival here, and then also a planning and zoning commission meeting. He couldn't be here this morning. He's still holding his position in Columbia within their planning department. And so Clint is scheduled to start his tenure here on April 3rd, which is a Monday. And so Mr. Grellner, if you're not familiar, has been employed with city for longer than I have.
Oh.
And so within the environmental services division, one of the divisions within our Department of Planning Protective Services, and Mr. Grellner is oversees restaurant inspections and other health-oriented matters. And so,
Very good.
Yeah, he's counting down days, you know. And so.
Very good.
And so one other item, there's some correspondence sent out by the mayor. It was a number of months ago, but it was directed to all the all the chairs of all the boards and commissions within the city, basically as a reminder of attendance obligations for our volunteer boards and commissions. And so the city code essentially outlines that board and commission members are required to be attending at least 2/3 of the meetings that are scheduled. And in the event that someone's not attending, 2/3 of their attendance is lax, for example, it's really incumbent upon the chair to bring that to the attention of the mayor. So we do keep track of that within our minutes. We list what the attendance is for every member. I don't see any attendance issues with the board. And I'll put an asterisk by that statement by calling out Mr. Schaefer. But honestly, that I believe is mostly a staff, there was a staff failing there, and that we had an inaccurate email address for Mr. Schaefer that we used for a number of months. And some of our meetings are erratic, and so we didn't, we often cancel meetings, and so it was a fair amount of time before we recognized that we were using an old email address, not getting responses. And so we'll take blame for that. It's been corrected. But outside of that, you don't see any attendance issues with the board. And so we do, as a reminder, my general instructions to Lisa is that we strive for 6 members to be present at any meeting. That allows for an emergency of one member to not be present and still maintain the 5 voting members. As you're familiar, the voting threshold for actions in front of the board is higher, and so we're very sensitive about that 5-member minimum and 6-member preferred attendance at meetings. And so even the alternates, if you are the 6th member, we certainly appreciate your presence, because it allows us to be able to keep moving forward in good faith with our applicants. Some, for example, a gentleman traveled from Georgia today in order to attend this meeting. And so, but with that, I don't think we have any cases filed for next month so far. And looking out in the future, nothing's coming to mind. But if that changes, of course, we'll send out packets. And so,
Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate city staff and their diligence in putting these things together. I really commend you for your efforts. Okay, anything else, people? Well, we're adjourned. Thank you, Miss Erin. Good to see you. Oh, that's all right.